Again, you're dealing with the higher terrain of Monument Hill, the foothills here to the west. You can see that's Jeffco there on the west side of that line, and that's Douglas County. So these are the foothills of Douglas and Jefferson County. Not surprising to see these things spinning up, but we are keeping a close eye on that rotation. So what I want to do is see if I can pop one on that one, because that one does look like it might have a little, yeah, not seeing a ton here. So it's all elevated. I'm just not seeing a ton of rotation unless it's this little area right down in here on the very tail end of the storm. And that's possible. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one, that the National Weather Service may throw a tornado warning out on that one. That one's right along I-25 as well. So we're keeping a close eye on those. Looks like one of our warnings to the west, we'll keep an eye on both of them. So that's what we're doing. Jess, what do you got?
Yeah, I want to show quickly the velocity scope on this second tornado warning. That's a little bit further to the south.
Yep.
I'm seeing a pretty decent couplet here. If we can take off the banner on air, I want to show you anytime you're seeing those brighter green colors and blue colors right next to the red, that's where we're seeing some rotation. So I just want to point out that if you're in the West Creek area, that's where there would be potential for a tornado to form. I just want to remind everyone that there is no confirmed tornado on the ground at this point, but if we're seeing one, it's pretty likely that it's going to be in this area where we're seeing those brighter colors. The greens moving towards the radar, the reds moving away, and that's indicating to us that that's a pretty tight area of rotation within this thunderstorm. Dave, back to you.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. So that's the ones we're keeping an eye on. That's Jess was investigating that one. We already looked at this one. Radar again is telling us that it's rotating. This is more of a wider spread rotation than the icon I was showing you here. Now that icon dropped off. So when I looked inside of that, I told you I didn't see much of anything, and clearly it dropped off because there isn't anything there as far as rotation. However, there is hail in this white. This is a good deal of hail here, although when we looked at it last time, it was only about 3/10 of an inch. So it's decent size, might be about the size of a dime. So we're keeping an eye on that. But this broad rotation, this arrow here is telling us the whole thing is rotating. In other words, we don't have that finite rotation that might be a possible funnel cloud or a tornado forming underneath the storm. Instead, the whole storm is rotating. Now, that's a concern, obviously. What's that, Chris? Okay, Deer Creek Middle School is under a shelter in place, and they're not releasing kids. So again, Deer Creek Middle School under a shelter in place because they're within the warning. They're going to keep the kids at the school until the storm clears or the warning is dropped. So if any parents are watching, there's no reason to go to the school at this point. They're going to hold them in place. So we'll keep you updated on that. We've got our crews out and about watching. So we've got our tornado warning until 3:30. We're at 3:05, coming up on 3:05. So we're watching that. So we've got this box here is 1. This box here is for West Creek. This one here is for the Roxborough area. It's just west of Castle Pines. This one had dropped off, but you do have hail in the area, so we'll keep a close eye on all of that. I do want to keep do another track here for you on this storm with the hail as it's making its way up. We've been telling you that it's heading towards Roxborough and King Carroll. It's literally on top of it. So here we go. Let's do this. Let's get Littleton and Evergreen involved in here just a little bit so we can see what's going on. Again, it's moving about 25 to 30 miles per hour. So I'm going to take the whole north side of the storm to give you a little advance warning, and it's heading this way. So let's go right there, about 30 miles per hour. So Roxborough, about 2 minutes. Ken Carroll, about 12 minutes away. So storm slowed a little bit. Lakewood, 30 minutes away, and Littleton about 23 before it arrives in your area. And again, the hail continues to look pretty good as I'm looking at it right now. The hail marker on that, let's take another look. We've been looking at it all day. There it is right there. We're getting even deeper blue now. Right in there. So that's the hail that we can see inside the thunderstorm. You notice these don't have it. So the radar does a really good job. Yeah, there's a little bit over here by the Pinery. Very small hail. Last time we took a size on that, it was about 2/10 of an inch. So probably about a little less than marble size at best. Castle Pines, no hail just yet. We're watching the storm to the south. Littleton, nothing yet, but you're not really under the bulk of the thunderstorm. But then as you head up in elevation, Aspen Park, you should be starting to get some hail. And then right here west of Roxborough and Roxborough Park, you've got the hail. And so let's take a close look at what that might add up to. And right there in the deeper blue, it just updated. Do you see what happened? The deeper blue even got a little larger. So that's a wider spread area of hail. Let's see what we got now. Now we're up over 1/2 an inch. Again, this is a loft. We're looking way up into the storm, and so as a result of that, it may melt a little bit, but we're starting to see the hail size come up. And it's the hail that we talked about for days that would be the biggest, probably damaging, most costly part of these storms. Even though we're under a tornado watch, it's the hail and the lightning and the wind that I still think are the biggest threats as we go through the evening. So we'll keep an eye on that. This storm, again, it's rotating. It's the whole thing is rotating. So let me clear this. Let's back this up a little bit just to give you a wider view, and you'll see the storms. Watch. What's that, Chris? Ken Carroll Middle School now is sheltering in place. So Ken Carroll Middle School, kids, if they ride the bus, they're probably not coming home anytime soon. If they drive themselves, they're not coming home anytime soon. If you go to pick them up, they're going to have you wait. So Ken Carroll Middle School holding in place as this storm heads to, and Deer Creek. We talked about Deer Creek. So Deer Creek and Ken Carroll. This storm here is rotating. You can see it just a little bit, and it's because, notice what's happening. It's turning into the other storm. What's going to happen here is, I want to go to a broader view of this. Let me show you that for just a second. Let's take it down to the south here. Watch these storms. This one's coming up this way. Notice those two collided. So you had one come up the backside of Park County through Jefferson County, and then it collided with a storm coming up the foothills of Douglas County. Watch it right in here. Watch the two of them collide, and there goes your explosive hail that kind of kicked up. So again, anytime two storms collide, they can't go down, they got to go up. And if they go up, that just enhances the intensity of the storm. And then right in here, you can see another storm coming up I-25, and it's starting to turn into that same storm. So now you're going to have heavy rain, you're going to have lightning, you're going to have wind, and it may increase the hail. And I think that's what we're seeing when I was just looking inside of it. We saw the hail go from a blue to a deeper blue shade. You're getting a little bit of enhancement down there on the southwest side of town. Keeping an eye out on the east development as well, but not seeing much. So far, everything is concentrated here. And Jessica talked about this right when we come on the air. This area is the Palmer Divide. It's a rise in elevation. It's higher up than Denver. Gets up to 7,000 feet when you get to the top of Monument Hill. That area, the sun was able to thin out the clouds. The sun penetrated in. The air is humid. The temperature's warmed a little bit, and the storms got underway. Now, they are coming down into Denver into a cooler atmosphere. However, there is enough cold air aloft that we can get hail, although I am starting to see the intensity of that storm kind of shrinking just a little bit as we look at it. So we'll take a closer look into that and keep an eye on that. That's the one storm that we do have out there, is on the southwest side of town. So we'll watch that for you. And so far, the tornado warnings, fortunately, have not been confirmed, but this is what we're looking at. It's all here on the south side. Watch the storms come up and around. Here's the higher terrain. You can see the resolution here in our maps. There it is, and I'm noticing the hail kind of coming down just a little bit in size. That's fortunate news. But nonetheless, Ken Carroll Middle School, Deer Creek, all holding the kids in place. Right thing to do, no question about that. Smaller hail coming out of Palmer Lake towards the Perry Park area. So we're watching that. Again, lightning, one of the biggest threats to us. Keep an eye out for that. There's a lot of lightning there on the south side. Remember, we remain under a risk here for severe weather for the evening. This area here is where the risk could be highest, and I think it's this area that might be a little more favored for tornado development, and that's why that area is under the tornado watch. And that tornado watch, what time does that stay out to, Jess? I can't remember what they said. What time? 3:30. No, the tornado watch.
Oh, the watch till 9.
Till 9, yep. Right. Okay. This one till 9 o'clock. So that's what we're looking at. That will stay out until 9 o'clock tonight. There it is right there. Thunderstorm watch on Wednesday until 9 p.m. So that'll be an idea of when things will calm down. And literally by Colorado standards, it's pretty typical to talk about a watch box ending at about 9 o'clock, because that's when we get closer to sunset and the storms have started to shift to the east and come to an end. Let's get back over to Jess.
Yeah, Dave, I want to show people that velocity couplet that we've been mentioning here in West Creek. This is where we think there's rotation in that thunderstorm, that tornado warning that we have down in southwestern Douglas County. This is the West Creek area, and you can see some of these brighter red and greens. This is where we're seeing that rotation within the storm. So if we are seeing a tornado, it's just radar indicated at this point. That's where it would be within this thunderstorm, and we certainly are seeing some gusty winds if we're not seeing a tornado develop in that area. So that that is moving off to the north and east here. You can see both of these tornado warnings. Here's West Creek, where I'm seeing some of that rotation. So this is the area we're watching really closely as it pushes off to the north and east. So some places that could be in the path of that as it moves northeast is the very west side of Perry Park and eventually up into the Roxborough area, which is also under a tornado warning through 3:30 p.m. And here's Metro Denver. I want to mention, yes, this is impacting areas to the south across the Palmer Divide right now, but it's headed our direction. So within the next hour or two, we are going to see all of this activity push into Metro Denver. So if you're planning to commute, if kids have sports practices, it's very important to stay tuned and be getting weather information as these storms move off to the north and east. And as Dave was just mentioning, we have this tornado watch in place through 9 p.m. So the threat for these severe storms, especially with rotation, going to continue all the way through that point along and east of the I-25 corridor. Dave, closer look at radar.
Yeah. Hey, Jess, you were mentioning that, and I widened the view out just as you were talking about those storms on the southwest side. So I wanted to show folks, we've got 3 boxes now. We've got one here. This one is 2. There's a third little box here. This one just started rotating. There's actually a 4th box down here by the divide. You can see that down to the south. So you got 1, 2, and 3 boxes. And I think the reason I wanted to point this out is I think what's happening is what we've been talking about for a little bit here is these storms are swirling over the higher terrain of the foothills. And the radar is picking that up, and the National Weather Service is triggering them because, rightly so, the environment is there. We are under a tornado watch. These thunderstorms do have that possibility, but I really think they're swirling over the higher terrain, and that's why we're getting radar indicated on all of these and no confirmations. Now, I will tell you this. If these were out on the eastern plains, east of Metro Denver and I-25, we might be getting some confirmation. But I think what we're seeing here is because everything is lined up in the same spot. So any thunderstorm coming up and around, as a matter of fact, I wonder if this one is rotating. Sure, there it is. Look at that. Canyon City. That one's rotating too. So they're all spinning over the higher terrain, and the radar is picking up on it. And out of caution, we are seeing the National Weather Service triggering these lines of tornado warnings because of that. What'd you say, Chris? I'm sorry. Oh, the camera on the right. Oh, that's C470 in Bowles. Thank you. You can see it's wet over there on the west and southwest side of town. So the elementary schools in the area over there on the southwest side are sheltering in place. And obviously, we talked about this smartly because these storms are heading their way with hail. Again, radar, you can see it, every single one of them rotating. This one's giving us a little more rotation. This one here to the south, that's a broad scale rotation down near Canyon City. So we're keeping an eye on that. This one in Divide has got a little bit of rotation in it. The one just southwest, this one's actually making its way. This might be just east of the Sedalia area. Let's take a closer view in on that one there and see what we can see as far as what it looks like. So there it is. So that's on top of Roxborough now. Castle Pines, you're on the west side of that, or the west side of Castle Pines, you're seeing it. This is 85, obviously, that runs up through there. And so Sedalia, you're probably getting a little bit of that as well on the west side of town. And so these tornado warnings will continue, and we're going to monitor them for you. And, of course, our newscast starts here in about 45 minutes, and we're going to be on for 2 hours. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on the scope, too. Jess keeps showing it to you. Actually, I want to take a look at quickly the hail size here to see what we're dealing with. Yeah.
I just want to update that there's potential for maybe some debris in the West Creek area. We're seeing that on our correlation coefficient. If we can pull up Max 1 here, I want to show you the graphics of what I'm seeing here. And yes, right in West Creek, where I've been tracking that stronger couplet, where I think the best chance of a potential tornado is in these storms. If we switch to the other weather graphic, there is potential that we are maybe seeing a little bit of debris in that storm, which could be indicating just some strong wind picking things up in that area, but there is potential that it could be a tornado. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. There's the couplet just north of West Creek. That bright blue on your screen is where there's potential for a tornado. And then if you see some of those blues that are popping up here, this is what we call our correlation coefficient. Right around here is where we're watching for the potential that there could be maybe a little bit of debris. So that's something I just want to point out as we're watching this. It is still radar indicated at this point. We do not have any eyes that there is a tornado on the ground, but that's something that we certainly look at when we're watching tracking these storms as they track off to the north and east here, Dave.
Good point, Jess. While you were doing that, I came over here.
Yeah.
And the 83, that's okay, go ahead. Yeah, you're fine. 83 mile per hour rotation there. This is what Jess was just looking at. So she was showing it to you. It's right in here. There's your red, there's your green. It's very bright. And so you have rotation in here. Again, we have no confirmation. This can be happening up and off the ground. That's why we give the advanced warning so people can take shelter. So West Creek, you should be in your shelter right now. Basement is the best place to go on the lowest floor possible if you don't have a basement, and in an interior room away from outside walls. So again, this is telling us, this is what Jess was talking about. This is just kind of inside baseball, gate to gate. So the radar has the ability to detect the wind, and so where the radar is, it's up that way. So red wind is away from the radar, green is toward it. So the wind is going this way, the wind is going this way. There's your circulation, and we can actually look inside of it and see that the difference between this and this is about 83 miles per hour. So that would be a pretty strong rotation that we're looking at there. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Let's do this. I do want to take a look at one other thing that we've been looking at. That is the rain. Some of this stuff has got some pretty good heavy rain in it. So this is rain vision. This is our radar has the ability. This is just within the last 3 hours, I believe, of rain, and so you're getting decent rain down in there over the foothills, and so we'll have to watch out for that. It's almost a half an inch of rain since we've been on the air, so that's pretty good rain in a short period of time. No question about that, so we'll keep a close eye on that. But there's your tornado warning. Again, this symbol is a broad scale rotation. So while we can look at it, and I'm talking about 83 mile per hour rotation, no confirmation that anything's on the ground. But if you are in the West Creek area, no question about it, you should be in a shelter just to be on the safe side. Let's do it again. I'm going to track that one specifically. We already tracked this one on the hail. Perry Park, you've got hail to the east. Castle Rock, get ready for hail. It's coming your way. But I want to track this one because it does have a little bit of a concern for us. Again, it's up and over the higher terrain. Let's move it off at about 25. So Deckers, everybody who loves to fish knows Deckers. It's a great little spot down there. Not a lot of property, but nonetheless, Deckers and Nighthawk, Sprucewood, we know those areas as well. Basically, you're running down the South Platte River. And so anywhere between 1 to 22 minutes in those southwestern communities in Douglas County. So we'll keep a close eye on that for you. Notice the rotation kind of popped off there very quickly. And so that's an indication that what we were looking at isn't there. Again, they're going back and forth. Radar's doing its best to try and keep up with what we're looking at here for rotation on the south side of town. I do want to take a look at this because the hail scope over here, this has grown a little bit, not a ton of growth in there, but nonetheless, the hail size has come up just a little bit here on the southwest side, just to the east of Perry Park. This is going right down, actually, Chris, this is going right down I-25. There's got to be a camera in here we can get to see what this hail looks like. Because if this is going straight north down I-25, that's going to be bringing traffic to a stop. I got to believe that. No question about it. So, yep. So I would say he's asking for a locator. Let me see. Let's take a closer look in there. We'll zoom in just a little bit down here. I-25 Larkspur. Between Larkspur and Castle Rock, that stretch where there's the bend, campgrounds off to the west and everything, he knows what I'm talking about. So just off to the north and west of the Larkspur area. So that's definitely right over I-25. So I'll be curious to see what that looks like, no question about it. So let's widen this back out just a little bit. All the action's on the south side of town so far, folks. We're keeping a close eye on all of it for you. So you've got your storms, your shelter in place over in Jefferson County. A lot of schools holding the kids in. Right thing to do, wait this out. The storms are moving a little bit slowly. They are migrating from the higher terrain to the lower terrain. They're sliding into the Denver metro area. What's that? Oh, that's Skyview. Okay, that's I-25 at Skyview Lane. Not seeing any indication of hail in that camera, but definitely wet down there, no question about that. But I'm not seeing hail. Normally, if it was doing anything substantial, you'd start to see a little bit of a hint of white on the side of the road. So let's put this into motion again so you can see. By the way, I mentioned this. This is all snow up and over the mountains. Gives you an idea of the cold air aloft and why we're dealing with hail. Remember, when these thunderstorms develop and they lift into the atmosphere, the reason Denver and Northeast Colorado is the hail capital of the world is we're already up in elevation. Doesn't take much to get the thunderstorm to reach up higher into the sky and hit the coldest air. And obviously, when it's snowing in the mountains up at 10,000 feet, you don't need to wait for these storms like you do in the Midwest and Kansas and out further east for the storms to get to 30, 35, or 40,000 feet in the air to hit the colder air to get the hail underway. We're already almost there. We're up at a mile plus. So all we got to do is get up past 10,000 feet and we're in the cold air, and that's why we're getting the hail and we're seeing it. So I want to point out, we have not been able to confirm anything. We've been watching it, but I really feel what's happening here is these storms coming from straight south to north are moving, and they're coming over the higher terrain, and that higher terrain and different elevations is causing them to swirl. That's causing the radar to spin up and causing the National Weather Service to hit those triggers. But nonetheless, you should be in your safe space. If you're on the south side of the metro, as you hear these thunderstorms come in, just ride it out. If there's hail, do the best you can to protect your property. Don't go outside when it's hailing. If there's lightning in the area, stay inside, let it pass. And if you hear anything that sounds like a freight train, you're going to want to go to the lowest floor possible in your house. Basement is always best. Let's toss back over to Jess.
Dave, I do want to break down what we're expecting for the rest of the evening here on Futurecast. This is one of our high-resolution models, and if you have plans tonight, or maybe you're commuting a little bit later home from work, here's what we're going to expect. I want to break this down hour by hour so you know when these storms are going to push into your area. So right now, the hot spot south across the Palmer Divide, those storms are moving off to the north and east. So as I set this into motion here for the next few hours, this is 5:30, and you can see these are starting to push north and east through the city of Denver. We could see potential impacts out at the airport if you have inbound or outbound flights that you're trying to schedule or attend to. And of course, we are going to see some snow up high on the Continental Divide. But this initial round will push north and east late tonight. This is 8:30 p.m. We could see quite a bit of hail and rainfall across the northeastern plains. But if you look off to the west and south, that's another round moving through that's going to push north through Denver late tonight. This is 11:30. We still have a lot of activity. So even after this initial round passes through this evening, right during the evening commute across the metro, we're still going to have chances for storm activity late tonight. Now, I do want to mention after 9 p.m., I do think a lot of our tornado threat drops off. That's the good news, but we could still see some small hail, similar to what we saw last night. And we could see quite a bit of rainfall, and we could see lightning. So this storm activity going to be pretty prevalent throughout the evening. Dave, back over to you.
All right, Jess. If we can pull up, guys, Chris was just telling me, you've got it up? Okay, he's got it up. There it is. This is one of our crews out and about. Do we know who this is? Do we know who's, that's our, oh, it's Rogelio. Okay, so Rogelio, that's our camera. He's on the southwest side? Okay, he's on the southwest side. So you can, 470 in Kipling, you'll see little tiny hailstones kind of hitting the windshield here in just a little bit. There they are. See them kind of being wiped away by the wiper blades. So it is smaller hail. So while I'm scoping it back here with radar and I'm telling you it's 0.2 or 0.3 of an inch in diameter, I've been mentioning that it does melt a little bit, and that is clearly the case. So that's what we're seeing right there as you can see the storm. And notice the edge of the clouds there. Look how dark it is on the right-hand side of his view. While you look off into the distance, it's a little bit lighter out there. And so he's literally right under the storm. So we're watching all these storms. Now we have a thunderstorm warning here till 4 p.m. That's to account for this hail that's coming up the I-25 corridor. So that's what we're dealing with. This is where we are right now. It's all on the southwest side. Let's stop this for just a second and zoom down in there. I do want to get down into the area where we're dealing the most. Notice off to the west, we've got the heavier showers as well. So let's get down in here. Watching the rain and the snow a little bit off to the west. We'll keep an eye on that. But it's all clustered right down in here. You can see it. Ken Carroll just on the, it looks like it's on the other side of the hog bag. Got a little bit of hail there. This is definitely hail. This is the hail with the thunderstorm warning that they just put out. So you can see all of that hail out there that we're dealing with. So we'll pop this on and you'll see it. This, boy, is that grown. That hail's gotten larger since the last time we looked at it. So that hail is now up pretty good in size. That's all hail there in the blue. The yellow is definitely going to be larger hail. This area has grown too. So we're seeing that. And so this hail here, Rogelio is probably right in this area here in the smaller hail. If he just turns 470 and waits right there, he'll probably get into this larger hail that we're dealing with down here, and that's why we've got our tornado warnings and thunderstorm warnings as well. So let's take a look at the size of that hail. Now we're up over an inch. So now you're going to start to see some big hail there on the south side of 470. So if you're down in the Ken Carroll, the Littleton area, you got to protect your property, got to protect yourself. Keep an eye out for hail. It is a narrow corridor that we're dealing with, but it can do damage, so be prepared for that. If you haven't already prepped your property by taking things in that are fragile, putting the car in the garage or covering plants outside or bringing in potted plants, it's probably a little too late as this is moving in. Got pounding rain here in Castle Pines. Castle Rock, you're kind of in between the heavy and the lighter rain, but hail is coming your way, so we're keeping an eye on that as well. And just using all of our tools to kind of see what's going on. I did want to do this just quickly to take a look right in here. That storm that's producing the hail right there. I was just telling you a few minutes ago that you don't have to get up very high in the atmosphere to get hail because we're already up in the air. If it's snowing at 10,000 feet in the mountains, it's obviously cold enough at 10,000 feet for rain to become hail. This thunderstorm moving over Roxborough and about to move into Ken Carroll, you can see the top of it. There's your hail shaft right there. There it is coming down right in this area here. We're up past 35,000 feet. Same thing in this one here. This one doesn't seem to have as much hail, but it's definitely got hail right in here. No question about it. So we're keeping an eye on that. You said there's a new warning out there, Chris? Okay. Yep, that's the one we were just looking at. So the severe thunderstorm warning is on the southwest side. He's talking about this one right here that just popped out. That one goes until 4 o'clock, and that one is because of the hail that's down in that area. And so they're accounting for that. So that's what we were just looking at. We can take a closer look at that. We'll get in on that and take a look at the hail scope on that one as well. So there it is right there. This is the reason for the thunderstorm. This could also have some pretty good wind with it as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. We'll watch it. Perry Park, you're getting the hail. We were just looking with the cameras there. Wasn't a ton of it, but it was there, no question about it. So as we zoom in just a little bit, down to the south, still got rotation, still got hail, no question about that. Here we go. We'll keep an eye on this one. This is the one with the hail. So if you're in Castle Rock, or Castle Pines, we'll put this about 25 miles per hour. Castle Rock, Centura Health, down towards Salida and Castle Pines. These are the times that the storms are heading your way, between 7 and the next 20 minutes as they move from south to north. With that, the rain is already underway. You've got thunder booming over the top of your house, but you're going to mix in some hail. We're keeping an eye on the close proximity of how large that hail could possibly be, and so that's what we'll watch for right in here. There's the hail. We looked at it. It's not as strong as what we were seeing over here. That's larger hail in the blues and the yellows. But this hail here coming your way, no question that you're going to have some small pea to possibly marble-sized hail in that bright white right in there. Yeah, about 1/4 of an inch. So it's small, but you're going to hear it. You're going to see it. It's going to be on the highway, and it may coat your ground just a little bit. So let's take a look at I-25. Where are we? I-25 and... that's Plum Creek, so a little farther down south in the Castle Rock area. So we're keeping an eye on that. It's right in here, so you're looking right in this area here with that camera. Roadway's wet. I don't see a lot of evidence of hail. And again, stressing, while we can see it here with radar, radar is not looking at ground level. It's looking up in the air. Some of this may be melting. Could be the tiniest of hail, and we just can't pick it up on that camera. So that's what we'll keep an eye out for. So Jess, any updates from any of these tornado warnings as far as confirmation or rotation that you've been seeing with our folks up in Boulder?
Yeah, no confirmation at this time of any tornadoes on the ground, which is of course good news. And we also have a report, Dave, I want to mention that hail that you were talking about on I-25 just south of Castle Rock, pretty much between Larkspur and Castle Rock. We have reports that it's a lot of pea-sized hail that it's actually covered the highway in some spots. So this is going to make it really difficult for people trying to travel here south along parts of the Palmer Divide, the southern I-25 corridor, and we're searching to find some visual evidence of this on a CDOT camera. There's only cameras every so often here, so we're trying to get a visual on that for you. But it's going to be in this area where you're seeing the silver color on radar just south of Castle Rock, where we would be seeing that pea-sized hail. Although that's not large enough to cause, say, damage to your car, it's certainly, if we see enough of it, enough to cover the roads, really slow down traffic or even stop traffic along that I-25 corridor. And then sitting just off to the west, are those tornado warnings that we've been keeping a close eye on. So this is starting to creep its way a little bit closer to Metro Denver. We have the C470 corridor. It looks like they just took off that tornado warning, so we'll have to watch to see if they do issue for another one. But all of the areas in silver here indicating where we're seeing hail south along parts of the Palmer Divide. Dave, back over to you. It looks like they just reissued that tornado warning.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. We will update you on that. I wanted to show you, this is our hail tracker right here. This is Rogelio, and I told you he was over on the, was it Kipling in 470? Kipling in 470, and I told you if he waited there just a little bit that the larger hail would come. Now you're seeing the hail kind of smashing off the roof, the hood of the car, and also the windshield. So I just, hold on just a second. I just want to zoom in here just a little bit, because what I want to show you is right in here, we'll zoom in on this area on the south side of town. These are the streaks of hail that we're seeing out there across the area. So Rogelio, if you can hear me, I'm going to bring you into the conversation here for a little bit. So you got me? Oh, now you can see that.
Gotcha.
Hey, Rogelio, how you doing? Listen, it looks like you've got some ponding on the road there. It looks like there might be some debris on top of the road. Is that hail that I'm seeing there in the center lane, or is it just heavy water that's kind of foaming up from the tires?
I'm going to go ahead and say it's hail, Dave. It looks like traffic has kind of slowed down here, and yeah, I think people are just conscious of this stuff coming down. We're actually heading eastbound here on 470.
Okay, so you're eastbound on 470. Can you tell me exactly where you are? Like, what's the next exit coming up?
Yes, we can. Eastbound 470 headed in the Ken Carroll area. Our next exit coming up kind of a little further for us to see. But we were traveling between Kipling Parkway here on E470 or 470, and we're actually coming up to Kipling Parkway. So yeah, some of that hail has ponded here on the interstate, not really in the lanes, but definitely on the sides and the shoulders.
Okay,
Dave.
so we can see it. So he's in this area right in here. So no question about that. We're seeing the hail. There's no question about the hail. It's definitely formed. It is going to be a little bit of the smaller size hail. You can hear it if we leave Rogelio's mic open. It's not making that loud thumping sound, but you can hear it. It's small hail, and it's always the small stuff that does what you're seeing in the picture. It accumulates on the sides of the roads and in the grassy areas and everything. So he's in here with this hail, and while we look at it from aloft and we can see this yellow tells us it's better than an inch in diameter, it's obviously melting as it makes its way down. But don't discount that hail causing problems, because this is the stuff that grows into a giant ice cube and can clog drains, and then the standing water comes and you've got hydroplaning and everything like that. So we'll keep an eye on that. Rogelio, just one of our crews. Rogelio, thank you. We'll check back in with you a little bit. He's going to be out there for us all evening long, keeping an eye on the storms, but he's definitely confirming what we're seeing back here in the FOX31 Pinpoint Weather Office, that there's definitely large hail down there. Castle Pines, it looks like that hail is on the west side of you now, so we'll take a look at that as well. Let's move this up just a little bit. There's the hail. Here it is here. Do you know where it is, Chris? Douglas Elbert, so it's starting to shift to the east. Okay, I see it. All right, let's take a look at that. Got the new tornado warning. It's right down in this area here. Let's just put a big old box down there. We'll jump in on it. Okay, so that's our new tornado warning. It's down here to the south and east. There it is there. It's in and around, looks like the Castle Pines area. Jess, can you just look at the details of what they're telling us? Obviously, it's radar indicated, but do they have anything else that they can, that the folks in Boulder are talking about?
Yeah, so right now, Dave, that new tornado warning is out for Arapahoe in Douglas counties until 4 p.m. We do know that there is rotation in the storm, and it's about 16 miles south of Denver. This is moving directly north at 30 miles per hour.
I can see the track. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Quarter-sized hail in this storm as well as it tracks off to the north. So if there's not a tornado on the ground, certainly hail is going to be a big impact.
What'd you say the speed was, Jess?
30 miles per hour towards the north.
Okay. All right. So Lone Tree, Centennial, the Foxfield, Sullivan areas on the southeast side, the 470 kind of bend over there as you're making your way past, say, Dove Valley and starting to turn more back up towards Aurora. So you folks are going to be dealing with this rotating thunderstorm. No confirmation according to what Jess just told me, but the storm is rotating. National Weather Service went with a tornado warning on that, and you can see there is hail in it, as she mentioned. What size hail did you say it was, Jess? I can look at it here, but quarter size. Okay. So Centennial, Foxfield, Sullivan, Lone Tree, you folks probably need to be in shelter. If you are a young child at home, a kid at home from school, and your parents are at work and you're watching us, my advice would be to go to the lowest floor possible. If you have a basement, that's the safest spot. Just go into the basement and write this storm out. You'll know when it's done when you don't hear any thunder for about a half an hour. If you don't have a basement, then just go to an interior room. Stay away from windows and doors. Get inside, maybe a bathroom or a closet in the interior room, and just wait the storm out as it goes by. So you can see this is updating. This will do that for us. Lone Tree, you're 2 minutes out. Centennial now 9 minutes out. Foxfield about 15 minutes out there on the southeast side. So that's our new warning. We also have this one here. So I'm gonna clear all of this for a second. I want to focus in on these. And the reason, by the way, the National Weather Service does this, the reason that they do these, what we call polygons, is because we don't want to alarm a large area of people unnecessarily. So we try to use the technology that we have to be very finite in what the dimensions of a storm is, where it's moving, and only deal with it in short increments of time. We don't want to put out a tornado warning for an hour. That would be unnecessary for everybody north of there that may never see it if it dissipates. So we're very focused in, and that's why you have these polygons of different storms. This one is for this storm. This one is for this storm. This one is for this storm, which looks like it's turning to the right. And if that happens, if a storm turns to the right, it's always going to be severe. There's no question about it, because they're moving away from the flow. And what that tells me is the storm is so large that it's independent. And it doesn't need to be pushed along by the upper atmosphere. It could just do its own thing. So we'll keep an eye on this one. I think if there's rotation, it's going to be in this part of the storm here. Again, Jess is telling me about 30 miles per hour. So we'll put this off to the north and east at about 31. So Franktown, Whispering Pines Park, no, the area of the Pinery near Parker. You folks are under a tornado warning. Same thing I just said to those folks in Lone Tree and Centennial. You need to start thinking about heading to shelter. You're probably going to get wind, lightning, and heavy rain. You might get some hail out of this as well. But if there is a tornado and it does become confirmed instead of just radar indicated, as we're seeing here from the FOX31 Pinpoint Weather Office, you're going to want to already be in that safe place. Down into the basement, number one, followed by lowest floor, number two, and an interior room away from those outside walls. So 1, 2, and 3, and obviously keeping an eye on the hail as well. That has always been my concern. I'm concerned about all of it, but the hail is one thing that can really cause damage. So we know we've got some hail here along I-25. We just talked with Rogelio. Is that still his camera? That's still him there to the left, right? Oh, there it is. New one? Yep, just came out. Now it's Arapahoe County. Isn't that the one we just had? Jess, is there a new tornado warning? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I think it's the same.
It's the same one.
Arapahoe Douglas, yep.
Yeah, that's the one that's going up towards Centennial. That's this one here. Okay, so we just talked about that one. So that's that one. So you've got one here. This one is west. This is West Creek. Boy, West Creek has been in the game. North of West Creek, west of Perry Park. That's one. So that's that area. Roxborough Park, you're kind of slipping out of that, but you've got this storm to your south. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then you have this one here. Obviously, radar is showing us rotation right in that area there. It's heading off to the north and east. That does include the Pinery. Elizabeth, you're on the east side of that. Not much happening in Elizabeth now. But if this storm is indeed, let's take a look at it. If it is turning to the right, then Elizabeth, you would be starting to turn into, yeah, see that turn? Watch this shift right here at the end. That shift to the end tells me that's a big storm that's growing down there in Douglas County. So we'll keep an eye on that. As a matter of fact, let's widen this back out. I want to see this in motion for just a second here. So let's recenter this over here. There we go. Watch the storms. They're coming together. They are definitely jumping up on the south side of town. That is where all the action is, down here on the south side of town. Look at the storms. See how they're banging into each other? And that's causing them to grow. This one here just went up in the last 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll bet the hail on that is even bigger now. Let's take a look inside of that just quickly, if we can. It's grown a little bit. Seeing a little deeper gray there, but that's a lot of hail coming up Castle Rock. Can we check a camera down there, Chris? If it looks like anything, just let me know. Like Founders Parkway, maybe, something like that. Check in on that. Okay. We'll work on that. Jess, you got anything new that I can send over to you for a second while I kind of look at a few more things here?
Yeah, so we're getting updates that at I-25 down in parts of Castle Rock, that Wolfensberger exit there, that there's
that's this.
Very low visibility due to heavy rain.
I can see
that.
We are
seeing under a half of a mile. So that's the type of storms that are moving through the area where it's kind of tough to see whether it's hail or rain. It's falling at such a high rate that it could be really tough to travel along I-25 right now.
Yeah, there, you can see the camera there. They just brought it up. That's Plum Creek Parkway. That's on the south side of town, so you're just an exit south of Wolfensberger. So you can see it there. Heavy, heavy rain. No question about it. You had a ton of splashback there. And the possibility of some small hail. We did hear some reports down there, Jess was talking about it, that it was kind of pea-size hail. So I just watched the hail kind of go down. So we're going to check out a few more cameras. You might want to check, there's a camera here at Ridgegate. I know there's a camera here. I know there's a camera at Castle Pines Parkway. There might be some hail here. That's that incline as you make your way past Lone Tree and Lincoln Avenue and head up towards past Skyridge Medical Center. So we should have a camera down there. I know there's cameras right in this area here. We can check that and see what's going on there, but that's what we're watching. So there we are. That's what we've got right now. And the hail, again, is there. No question about it. It's not gigantic here in the Castle Pines area, but there is some small hail in the Castle Pines area. So we'll keep a close eye on all of that. Let's widen this view back out just a little bit. Oh, you got Wolfensberger? Okay, let's take a look at Wolfensberger, what Jess was just talking about, see what we can see down there. So there's the heavy thing. Well, it's done one thing. It's caused the traffic to come to a slow movement. No question about that. So there's Wolfensberger. So they're obviously, you can see the splashback in that picture there. So the splashback is causing the traffic to come down, and if there's low visibility, as those folks, looks like the left-hand side would be, I'm guessing, northbound into Castle Rock is my guess. Yeah, so the right-hand side, the left-hand side of the picture, the headlights coming at you is northbound I-25, slowing, obviously, as they approach Founders Parkway and towards the Castle Pines outlet malls and so forth. So you got hail here. The hail here is not as large, and some of the hail here we saw on the southwest side is starting to come down just a little bit. And I think the reason for that is, remember, we had the clouds over Denver, and the atmosphere here is a little cooler, but the cold air is aloft, so it can still generate hail. You're just not getting the thrusting up of the thunderstorms that we saw earlier down like near Roxborough and West Creek, where they had the larger hail there to the south and west. And by the way, we would love to see your pictures and video. We don't want you to go out and do it. If you safely can shoot something and you have something or you captured some hail, we love getting those hail pictures in. Just send them to KDVR tips at kdvr.com. We will ask for your permission to use them here on the air, but we would love to have them, and our folks are scanning those, our inboxes all the time for that. So if you've got it, it's another visual confirmation of what we are tracking and seeing here across the metro. So that's what we're keeping an eye on. Once again, lightning, I can't reinforce this enough. There's a lot of lightning here on the southwest side. Goes to the intensity of the storm, but also goes to why you should be inside when you hear thunder. And we've got lightning growing here. These storms to southeast are going to keep the action going on the eastern plains well into the night. We're under a slight risk in the yellow. Southeast Colorado, you have a thunderstorm watch box. You're more likely not going to be dealing with tornadoes in the yellow shaded areas. But from Colorado Springs, straight up I-25 to Fort Collins and out to the north and east, that's where we could see the possibility of a tornado or so. Go ahead. I got you. Is that what you're going to do? Switch them? Okay, that's fine. So we'll do that. All right. All right, gotcha. All right, we're trying to get some computers worked out here. We'll figure it out in just a second. So here we go. I want to back this up once again just a little bit. There's your storms coming up and out of the south and west. Let's go to our warnings map. 1, 2, 3 warnings on the southwest side. You can see these tornado warnings go until 4 o'clock. So we're watching them closely. We're at 3:43. So, oh, is it we're going over to 1? Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay. All right, so that's what we've got, guys. We're keeping a close eye on that. These are the warnings on the southwest side. You can see them here and here and here. So the Castle Rock area and those areas are the ones we've got. So that's what we've got. You can see the lightning there as well. So we were able to switch computers. Nicely done. I don't know how you guys did that, but I'll take it. All right, here we go. There's your warnings. We're keeping a close eye on that on the southwest side. We're going to zoom down in here, and there's our cluster right there. It's basically right now all the action mainly is in the Douglas County area. I'm also keeping an eye on additional storms forming here. Hail in Canyon City. You've got hail out here south of Carville over the open eastern plains, west of Cheyenne Wells, in and around Kit Carson. That storm dropped off just a little bit. So we'll keep a close eye on all of that. And we'll take a close view in here, once again, of the hail that we're seeing on the southeast side. Let's just zoom right in here and just focus on these storms for just a second. And there it is. Not as much hail here, but it still can be large, and so we'll watch that very closely for the possibility of it being large enough to cause any problems. But right now, when you see it shaded gray, you're kind of on the lower end of the size of the hail. Oh, by the way, there's that storm that's rotating again. If you were with us and I told you in Centennial to seek shelter, you should probably do that. That's a rotating thunderstorm. No confirmation of a tornado, but the storm itself is rotating, and that's always the beginning stages. So watch out for that. These ones have the hail in them. This one still has hail in it. That's still big hail. But again, it's elevated over the foothills, so it's looking large on radar, but it's melting a little bit before it hits the ground. Nonetheless, when you see yellow, that's hail that can cause damage. So we're keeping a close eye on all of these hailstorms across the area. As far as the tornado warnings that are in place, again, we've got 3, one here, one here, one here. This one goes till 4 p.m. This one here, I'm not exactly sure. Let me see what time that one goes to. Let's see if we can find out here just a little bit. That tornado watch box goes till, let's see if we can find out. Looks like about 4 p.m. as well. So we'll watch that one as all 3 of them are kind of in that same cluster. They're right on top of each other, and they're moving to the north and east. So if you are north and east of Centennial, say Foxfield, Sullivan, Aurora now. We're going to put a new track on this because it's continuing out. There's your rotation. So Aurora now, give you guys a little bit of an advance warning. Here we go. There's our storm, and it's at about 30 miles per hour right there. So Foxfield, Sullivan, Aurora, and Montbello within the next 0 minutes, it's literally on top of Foxfield, to about a half an hour up towards the Montbello area is what we're looking at. So I'll keep a close eye on that storm. Again, it is rotating. You should seek shelter. Go to the lowest floor in your house. If it's a basement, take that. If it's not a basement, then go to that lowest floor and seek shelter on an interior room away from windows and doors. A bathroom or a closet would be best, and just kind of ride out the storm. Again, we have no confirmation of tornadoes. We are just here to keep you safe and keep you updated on these storms. So that's what we're looking at. Jess, any update from the National Weather Service guys up in Boulder?
They are continuing that tornado warning for Arapahoe and Douglas County.
So this one here, the one I was just talking about?
Yep, and there could potentially in Douglas County also be up to about ping pong ball sized hail in the strongest part of that storm. So
this one here by Highlands Ranch?
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Okay, maybe it's grown just a little bit then. I'm not seeing that here.
Moving north at 30 miles per hour, the tornado warning that is in parts of Arapahoe in Douglas County. So we're going to continue to watch that.
So that's you folks that I was just talking to. If you're in Sullivan, Aurora, Montbello, you need to start thinking about shelter. Lowest floor, as I just mentioned, because this storm is on the way there, and there's a little more of a confidence. Remember what I told you, the tornado watch, the higher probability that thunderstorms could produce tornadoes is from I-25 to out on the eastern plains. So as these storms move away from the higher terrain and head east of I-25, they will encounter an atmosphere where there might be a little more swirling of winds that will help them to kind of spin up and possibly drop a tornado. So that's why you may be seeing this one now become a concern, where the ones on the south side are kind of dropping off just a little bit. So we'll keep a close eye on all of those here. This one's also rotating. So I already talked about to you folks here in the Pinery, in the Parker area. You should be doing the same thing. And Elizabeth, I mentioned the storm is turning to the right. You're right there. You're just on the edge of what will be some rain here starting in a few minutes and potentially hail. So keep an eye out for that. But the part of the storm that's swirling is right in that area right there to the south, and you can see it. So this would be the part of the storm that's turning there. We'll track this out. Actually, we'll just run this up here to the north again and just bring it a little farther to the east. So there you go. Montview Elementary School. Hopefully they're holding the kids there. American Academy, Parker, Sierra Middle School. So all of the schools in the Parker area are about to see this storm come through. You're under a tornado warning. If the kids aren't home already at 3:48, I would think they are. Hopefully they'll hold them in the schools and delay pickup or the bus ride home. But those are the areas that are under concern. There will be hail. It doesn't look terribly large, but Jess was just telling me they're seeing it as being a little bit larger than I'm being able to detect right here. But nonetheless, there is hail. That white is all the hail, and that magenta is also hail, smaller. This would be the larger hail right here in the white, so we'll keep an eye on it. Jess, is there any information that they're talking about as far as discontinuing any of these as they move away? Are we getting any reports at all out of these areas that there has been confirmation of large hail. I'm not seeing, I'm going to check our map
No
here just quick.
confirmed reports right now from spotters. Of course,
Okay.
the National Weather Service has a network of spotters that are out. We also have multiple reporters out covering this storm. So no confirmed reports of how large that hail size is. We also have no reports of them canceling one of these tornado warnings as of 4 p.m. So as of right now, there's still that rotation in the storms.
All right, I got you. I do have a couple of reports here. Let's just see what they are quickly, if we can just take a look at them. So what I'm looking for is confirmed reports. So this is a hail report right here. So that one is the one that was around Roxborough Park. So dime size hail, that came in at 332. So that's one of them that was there. We also have these two down here. We're near Palmer Lake. This one was the one that was on the west side of town. So that one is 1 inch diameter hail. This one here is also dime size hail. So while we're seeing it here and radar is depicting it at larger than an inch, it's actually coming in a little smaller than that, and that's due to the melting that we talked about that is definitely possible with these storms. So we'll keep a close eye on all of that. But right now, 1, 2, 3, 4 confirmed reports. Doesn't mean everything else we're showing you isn't happening. It's just that we don't have official spotters sending in those reports. But clearly, it's all about the hail here on the south side of town because we have had no confirmations at all of any tornadoes touching down, just a lot of rotating thunderstorms and the advanced warnings that the National Weather Service is giving you. Again, a thunderstorm watch in yellow for southeast Colorado, and from I-25 over the eastern plains, a tornado watch until 9 p.m., and this is the area we will be on guard for the rest of this evening. As you know, we are under a slight to enhanced risk. Basically what that means is that we went from slight, which is lower down on the scale, to more of an enhanced risk, which is a little higher. We're still not at the highest risk, but the potential is there because of the atmosphere we're dealing with. Lots of lightning across the area, and again, there's your storms moving from north to south. Notice this here too. This is the fanning out. These are the clouds kind of thinning out just a little bit. Notice the west side of town, those storms that came up near Ken Carroll, how they've weakened as they've moved away from the higher terrain, and they're also coming into Denver, which is a little cooler, a little cloudier, doesn't have the rich environment. So these areas on the west side of town, I think you've got showers and thunderstorms, but the reason I showed you the watch box is I think the environment is going to be a little better suited to support these thunderstorms east of I-25. And watch this storm here. These collided. Anytime storms collide, they're going to erupt. Watch them turn to the right. That's also an indication that they're severe because they're kind of going out on their own, if you will. And that tells me they have the strength to do whatever it is they need to do and grow. Meanwhile, there is snow up into the Colorado mountains. So we're keeping a close eye on all of those storms on the south side of town. And so that's what we want to watch. It is all about the hail down there on the south side of town. And if you look into some of these storms, you'll see what I'm talking about. They are tall storms. As we kind of zoom in here just a little bit, let's just do this. We'll just kind of cut right through them here in the middle. Right through the pink, this is where the hail is, right in that area there. Look at this. These storms are up to close to 40,000 feet. So your hail in this one, right there over Ponderosa Park, just maybe hitting the Franktown area. And this one in Centennial, that's definitely all that pink is all hail that's falling right down there into the area. So those are the two areas we'll keep a close eye out for hail. Those are going to be the big problems as we look inside of it. We'll take the scope in here just a little bit. Yeah, it's grown just a little bit around Centennial. That's what you told me, Jess, right? That they said that it would grow just a little bit on the Centennial side of things?
Yeah.
That the hail would come up just a little bit in size? Let's see what we got now.
Well, and we certainly are seeing that towards Castle Rock as
Florida.
well. That severe thunderstorm warning, they're saying up to about ping pong ball sized in the silver color. So to your point, all about the hail on the south end of town.
Yep, and it looks like we only have, we got the two warnings, the two thunderstorm warnings left on the southeast side of town. So you've got one here. This one looks like it's turning more towards Elizabeth and Kiowa. This one here on the southeast side is right there in that sweet spot. It's just about to make its way north into the Aurora area. It's actually on the southwest side. So that's going to be, it's actually going to just kind of move between 225 and 470 on the east side of town. And we do have a thunderstorm warning, tornado warning and a thunderstorm warning in place for a few of these. So this one has now a thunderstorm warning on it. So we'll watch that one too, back down there near Woodmore and off towards the West Creek area, which seems to be doing it. So 225, all right, 225 and Parker on the southeast side of town is what we're looking up. So when that pops up, that's the camera you're looking at over there on the southeast side. And there you go. Traffic is obviously being slowed because of the heavy rain that's out there and hail. And of course, people tend to want to, unfortunately, they're driving and they start to get a little bit of hail. They kind of hide under the overpasses. Not exactly what you should do. That can cause accidents and put other people in jeopardy of injury, but people tend to do it. But that's probably not what's happening here. It's probably just slow traffic due to the heavy rain that's down in that area. So we're watching that. Looks like you might be getting a little hail moving into Estes Park just a little bit, and some just west closer to the Vale Pass. So they've got some hail aloft as well up and over the higher terrain. So that's what we'll keep an eye on. We are now approaching, within a few minutes, we are going to start our 4 o'clock news. We will be on with you for the next 2 hours through 6 o'clock. Jessica and I will continue to monitor radar and the latest warnings and where the highest threat is, keep you updated on any reports we get in and where we think the challenges could be for the rest of the evening commute. And as we bring in our anchors, we will also be going out into the field and talking to more of our reporters who are strategically positioned in several areas to kind of keep an eye. They're going to be our eyes on the ground for the rest of this evening as to what we see here and what is happening out there. Of course, the cameras you're seeing here that we've been sharing with you certainly have been a help to kind of put it all into perspective, because again, when we're dealing with radar, we're dealing with what we can see aloft, and sometimes what's happening on the ground can be different. It can be more or less, but it can be different, and so having the eyes on the ground is very important for what we're doing out there. So we'll keep an eye on that, and these storms are going to continue for a little bit, so we'll watch them very closely for you. I think these storms here, as they grow off to the east of us, they will probably continue to push, so we'll keep an eye on them as they move off this way. So there it is right there. It's these storms right in here. You can see it. There's I-25. There's 470 on the loop. This one's rotating right here to the north and east. It's over closer to the Pinery and Parker. This one's got some heavy rain in it. These have kind of dropped off a little bit. You can see the intensity is down. It's still pouring rain. It's just not as strong as where you see the reds over here. This is all snow, the blue that you see here, right up on the Continental Divide. So you got to get up past 10,000 feet to find any of the snow up there. And we're also picking up additional rotation. Might as well check that one as long as we're here. Check this one on the south side of town. We'll keep an eye on this one for you too. Got additional rotation. We've been seeing this all day long right down here. You can see it. So we're down towards the Colorado Springs area. Pueblo's got rotation. You've got hail down here in La Junta. So these storms are all heading north towards the Denver area. And while we stayed overcast today and the atmosphere is a little cooler, it doesn't mean we won't deal. Jess and I actually talked about this. We think we may be dealing with more smaller hail in Metro Denver and some pretty heavy rain in the next 24 hours, because that's one of the concerns that we have. So we'll keep an eye on all of that for you. So here's the bigger picture. There you see the storms. The heating of the day came out, and they are now racing from the south to the north. Jess, do you have any updates for us?
No updates at this time
Okay.
on chat, Dave, of certainly some hail being spotted in some areas. Looks like maybe we just got in a new report, so let me check how big that's for.
Okay, go ahead.
Douglas County, it looks like just off to the east of Castle Rock, we are seeing hail about $half size. We have a report there down east of Castle Rock of $half sized hail. So that's how large we've gotten up to.
$half size hail. That's pretty decent size hail, no question about that. And that can cause some damage. So that's these storms here. These are the two big ones now. So we've gone here in the last hour plus from tracking storms over here, coming over the Jefferson and Douglas foothills from in and around West Creek, which is on the south side of your screen here, right up through Roxborough and to Ken Carroll. And now those storms are turned and they're over here on the east side. And so you can see, yes, we have rotation in this one here, but it's all about the hail, and we're keeping a close eye on that hail, and we can look inside. Yeah, there's the hail. Now it's larger. So there's the blue. That's indicating to me that's hail of, as Jess said, could be up to about a ½ inch or a $half in size. This one, not seeing here, not seeing much in the way of hail here, but certainly Castle Rock to Castle Pines, up here just west of I-25, you've definitely got some hail in there. There's no question about that whatsoever, and this hail can be, as Jess was talking about, that deep blue right there, you'll see the size pop out. It's getting up to 3/4 inch, so that's the size of a quarter. That stuff can do damage. That's the stuff that gets the roofers out in your neighborhood, because it can put those divots in your roof, which can, over time, kind of break through, and now you got a leaking ceiling. So watch out for those those areas there. There's not much you can do about it. Hopefully you brought your property in, but that's what I'm seeing is that large hail there to the west of I-25, kind of running up through Castle Pines. I don't know if folks know this, but there's actually a Beverly Hills right there, a little community. So there's Beverly Hills, and then you head up here and you get towards Lone Tree and into Centennial and continue up towards the south side of the metro, right where 225 is. So the tech center is going to probably see some of this as well, and that's probably why we're seeing these cars standing at a standstill. Can we check a camera, Chris, in the tech center? Maybe, yeah, Lone Tree maybe, Lone Tree camera, or maybe a little farther north than that. How about up to possibly, I don't know, Dry Creek or County Line Road, one of those? That might be a great spot to kind of peek in and see what this is having an impact, and if that hail is in fact there. It looks like it's just west of the highway, so the camera might not be able to see anything on the highway, maybe just west into the communities, neighborhoods, but near Park Meadows Mall and those areas. So this we got 1, 2, it looks like a tiny little tornado warning here. Just can you confirm for me, do we have 3 tornado warnings? 1, I'm seeing 1, 2, and it looks like this is a third.
Yeah, let
1,
me
2,
head
and 3.
to the computer and see if they just issued.
There's County Line. There's your
New
hail.
tornado warning. So Adams, Arapahoe, and Denver counties until
Okay,
4:30
4:30.
p.m. This
There
is
it is.
also radar indicated, so
Yep.
no confirmed tornado on the ground.
Yep.
You can hear the alarm there from our computer going off about it.
That's because it
Moving
clipped Denver
northeast.
County, I'm guessing.
Yep, moving
Yep.
northeast at 25 miles per hour.
Okay. No surprise there. If you're in the county and you got your phone with you and it trips a warning, you're going to hear your phone going off, and that's exactly what's happening. So this area here, it is the tiniest little spot. This warning clipped that part of Denver County. And so just that little bit is alarming folks in Denver County, but I will tell you it's east of there. So you've got to be right at 225 and east to be concerned for this storm, because this storm is, I'll put it into motion, you can see it. This storm is moving to the east-northeast. Watch this. See it turn? When they take a turn like that, they are going to be strong to severe. So no question about it. What may happen here is if these two storms join, you're going to get an eruption of hail that could kind of cover the ground here a little bit. So this one's moving through the Pinery and Parker, moving east of Castle Pines. You had some hail come right up and over the top. You can see it. Watch the hail come right up and over the top, right in here. And now we're seeing this storm here. So again, if your phone just went off like ours did, it's because it just barely clipped the boundary of Denver County. But that's fine. That's what it's intended to do. But it is not all of Denver. It is not downtown Denver. It is basically 225 to the east, Aurora, those areas there. This is the storm that is definitely rotating. So let's do this. Okay, stick around. We are going to take a quick little pause, and we will come back with 2 hours of news right here on Fox 31 as we continue with our Pinpoint Weather Alert Day coverage.